User in your channel timed out. User entered your channel. User disconnected from your channel. User disconnected from your channel. User entered your channel. User left your channel. User was kicked to your channel. User joined your channel. User disconnected from your channel. User left your channel. User entered your channel. User left your channel. User entered your channel. User left your channel. User was kicked to your channel. User entered your channel. User entered your channel. User was moved out of your channel. User left your channel. User joined your channel. User was kicked to your channel. User disconnected from your channel. User disconnected from your channel.
Come here, Buster.
User entered your channel. User was moved out of your channel. User was moved out of your channel. User was kicked to your channel. User entered your channel. User entered your channel. User entered your channel. User left your channel. User entered your channel. User disconnected from your channel. User left your channel.
Wait, what? How the fuck does that make sense? I missed 2 assignments, brings my grade down to a fucking 50. Alright, that's crazy. Fucking hate this. This is literally why people don't go to fucking college, dog.
User left your channel. User entered your channel. User left your channel. User disconnected from your channel. User entered your channel. User disconnected from your channel.
You are now muted.
User entered your channel. User left your channel. User was kicked to your channel. User left your channel. User entered your channel.
Hello. Just letting you know I'm here in case anyone has
User
any
left your channel.
questions.
User entered your channel. User left your channel. User entered your channel. User left your channel. User in your channel timed out. User entered your channel. User entered your channel. User entered your channel. User entered your channel. User left your channel. User disconnected from your channel. User joined your channel. User left your channel. User left your channel. User entered your channel. User entered your channel. User left your channel.
All right, so only a few of you are on, but I want to get started because there's a lot to cover. We are a little bit behind, but I'm not worried because I know this week and next we're in chapter 3 and 4, so I know that we can easily catch up. And today is going to be a little bit slowed because I have questions that everyone submitted that they wanted me to answer. Before I get started, I just always check in, see if anyone had any questions they wanted to ask. Okay.
What I'm sorry. When are we doing the current events again?
The current events, you go into your,
No, like I did that. Like, are we doing them like this week?
no, because you're not signed up for this week. Remember, each of those had a week and a day. Like they had a week assigned to it. So it's normally, if you look at the syllabus, it's normally Fridays that's when you'll have to do your current events. But it's the week of the Friday of that week.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I see someone else just jumped on, so I'm gonna.
User left your channel.
All right.
User entered your channel. Disconnected.
All right, so I'll try and grab people as they jump on. Any other questions? Sultan, you're saying you can't hear anything.
User left your channel.
I think it's on your end. Let me see. It may be on your end.
User joined your channel.
Others can hear me. All right. Let's see, someone else. I see someone else just jump on. Oh no, it's just bouncing around. I'll also remind them, also, these are recorded. So you can watch
User entered your channel.
later. All right.
User
Let's
left
just see
your
if
channel.
I got everyone so far. Oh, no, Anthony. All right, so you'll see on the screen the agenda for today. I'm answering the questions, but like I also said, we're a little bit behind, so I don't know if we'll fully catch up. There's still a lot to finish for number 2. There you are, Anthony. So we'll truck along. After I answer the questions, current events, I'll go over, and then we'll try and get as far as we can in chapter 2. After I go over the questions, if you have any follow-up questions, that's fine. You can ask. I'm prepared for today to be kind of a light day because of the amount of questions I am answering. There is a lot people wanted to know. All right, so starting with that, the first question is a 3-part question. They asked who inspired you throughout your education process, why teaching/professor, how long did it take to become a professor? So I'm going to work backwards on this question. I didn't set out to be a professor when I started school. It's something that kind of fell in my lap, not fell in my lap, but I covered, when I was practicing law, I covered for another colleague who wasn't able to teach one semester. So I went in and taught a course and I fell in love. And so then I realized academia is what I wanted to do ultimately. So from there, it took probably about 10 years to kind of make that full transition, and nothing just with life itself and kind of just adjusting to other things going on, that I was finally able to make that transition. What and who inspired me? Different people throughout my life. I've had mentors, I've had professors, teachers that saw something in me and encouraged me. So that's something I really try to pass down or like pay it forward. As far as what, I always made a point of studying subjects that I was passionate about. I didn't try and study subjects where I'm like, oh, I'm going to get this job and make money. So when you're passionate about something you're studying, then it's a little bit easier to study the materials and keep going. Someone asked me, being a woman of color, what made you decide to become an educator? So going back to, I never planned to be an educator initially. However, being a woman of color, I think it's great to someone can say, oh, I look like her, or a similar position, and be inspired by it. I think every group, everyone should be represented. People should see people that look like themselves teaching and delivering knowledge, and everyone based on their own experiences deliver knowledge in their own way. What university did you study and graduate from? So I covered this in the welcome, my welcome note to you, but I'll go over it again. I went to NYU, undergrad, New York University. I double majored in psychology and political science. From there, I went to law school at Georgetown University. And then my most recent degree was my MBA, and I got that from Penn State. Someone asked, was class going to be interactive? It is. I try to make you guys talk. It's on you how interactive it is. You hide. No one puts their cameras on. So it's up to the class. I do my best. If emails, they ask how fast do I respond? If you've emailed me, you know I respond pretty quickly. Last night I was emailing people, so I email. What was your favorite courses when you were a student? So in college, film and literature and Renaissance art were my two favorite classes. I also liked my pre-law classes. That's what inspired me to go to law school. In law school, I enjoyed law classes, and then in business school, I enjoyed studying business. Although I wasn't a fan of accounting. I'm not one who loves numbers. Are you strict about deadlines? Yes, I am. I accept early work. I don't accept late work. If there's an issue, you get in touch with me in advance versus waiting to the last minute. Some people were responding like a half hour before deadline about their homework assignments. And I was like, where were you? So I am strict with the deadlines, but that's also life. So you don't always get like a second chance to turn in work. Your favorite activities, binge watching, and then relaxing with family. The question was really getting at hobbies. I love to travel. I love just constantly educating myself on stuff. So I like reading. I'm currently teaching myself Swahili. Forever the learner. Someone asked, have you worked in a particular field in business before becoming a professor and teaching it? What were my greatest accomplishments? What were some of my biggest struggles? Did I ever fear that I wouldn't find success? So I look at it as no matter what profession you're in business. So even if you're a doctor, you have to run that business. You have to get patients. You have to market yourself. You have to do accounting. There's HR, depending on how big your office is. So you're always in business no matter what profession. So when I practiced law, I was in business, and then I had my own business. Greatest accomplishments as a business owner was just actually running the business and being able to, survive off your business. Biggest struggles, I hate accounting. I hate chasing people to pay me. I hated that. Did you ever fear you wouldn't find success? I think that's normal in everything. When you're running a business, you worry about being successful. It kind of what drives, I think, a lot of business people. When you are in school, like doing well. So I think it's normal. Just use that fear to push you to succeed. Do you like teaching this course? I do. I love teaching Intro to Business. It's broad, so you can really cover a lot of topics, and you can connect what you're learning in the classroom to the real world. Someone asked me about adjusting to teaching online. Before COVID, I taught online already, so I was in the classroom and online. So it's just, I was already adjusted to it. The one thing is trying to create the classroom atmosphere online can be difficult, but I will force you guys to talk. And I have group projects and stuff like that, so you still kind of get that classroom feel. What else? How do you earn extra credit? So I've already announced that you can earn extra credit by doing all of your assignments. You get 5 extra credit points at the end of the semester. I just posted in the announcements more extra credit opportunities. And then I'm doing extra credit for those who vote. I'm just trying to figure out how you would submit proof that you voted. In the past, people took pictures at the polling site, but if you're mailing it in, I don't want to see the actual ballot. But yeah, I don't know, taking a picture of the ballot and showing you putting it in the mailbox. Who knows? But there's extra credit. They'll be coming down, making more available. Do I have any children? Yes, I do. how has coronavirus and the pandemic been for you? I think with everyone, stressful, different phases, boredom, but I did catch up on a lot of rest that I needed. I didn't realize I needed. Someone asked how many years I've been teaching together, because I've taught at other schools 11 years, at DCC 6, and yes, I'm full-time faculty. Someone asked what my short-term goals were and my long-term goals. Short-term is helping students get through the semester, learning business concepts that they can apply in their real life. I am working on my 10-year project, and my long-term goal is being able to retire to some tropical place. What keeps your life interesting? My family. We could probably have our own reality show. Are you married? Yes. Do you like spaghetti? Yes, I love Italian food. Anything Italian. When I was in Italy, I love the food. My favorite dish is salmon tortellini, but I also like Indian food as well. I would like to know the way you teach as to the approach you take. I try to take a student-centered approach where everyone learns in their own way, so I try to present information in different ways for students to learn. I also try to, if you haven't figured out, I don't lecture out the textbook. I will pick up different topics, but I try to connect it to different real-world issues and bring in so it's easier for you to remember. It makes it a little bit more concrete. All right. What else did you guys want to know? What advice you'll have for someone looking to start a small business? You need a business plan. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You need a business plan written out, not in your head. And the other advice would be just start. Just too many people do planning and they never start. What else? What is it that you like about business? It touches every facet of our lives. No matter what profession you're in, you're having to deal with business. Someone asked me about why I went into real estate, and I'm assuming real estate law, because that's what I used to practice. It was because it was concrete. I could actually see my work. I could drive down the street and say I worked on that building. I've been in other places in the world and seen stuff that I worked on, so it was very concrete for me. Someone else asked how difficult was it to earn a law degree. I think the difficulty with law degrees is a lot of reading and writing. A lot of reading and writing. You might be in a day reading hundreds of pages for your coursework. And the other stressful thing is that there's only one exam at the end of this semester. There's no projects, there's no quizzes. One exam determines your grade for the semester. Do you like online learning, teaching? I prefer to be in a classroom to connect with students, but online, I also try to make it enjoyable as well and recognize that students need that experience. I've been an online learner, so I try to figure out what I hated about online learning and try to make changes from there. Someone asked me about where can they email me? It's in the syllabus. But with that said, I want to note to students, only students have mail.dcc.edu in your email. Faculty and staff don't. So if you're emailing me using that mail.dccc.edu, I don't see it. I don't get that email, okay? So you have to drop it. So how it's written in the syllabus, that's how you follow it for your other faculty and staff. Mail is only for students. Someone asked me, was I a dog or cat person? I like to say I'm a furry animal person. I love cats and dogs. If I had to choose, I would pick the cat because I don't always like walking the dog. Favorite Disney movie, Lilo and Stitch, Princess Diaries. But my love for Disney comes from growing up watching the Mickey Mouse Club, so I love Mickey Mouse. Why did you choose to teach at DCC? I was already working as, I was a GED teacher, and so when full-time position opened up, I wanted to jump in because I knew how great it was to work for DCC. Is there anything we can do as students to help you with the transition to online classes? My only thing would be, you guys need to read. That will help. So it's not necessarily me transitioning, but for you, I'm not in front of you to tell you everything, and I'm realizing students are not reading. A number of students ask me where to find a student agreement, and I'm like, it's in a syllabus. That's where you're supposed to read the syllabus. So things like that, we're not in front of you, so we can't grab your attention as easily. So you have to be more diligent of reading materials that come from me or the college. What are your goals for the class? It is to make sure you guys use, you're able to use concepts that you can use in your real life, that you take something from class and you'll remember it, not you just memorized it and you dumped it. You actually memorized it. What do you love about your job the most? Students, I learned from you as much as you learned from me. What else? Someone wanted to know what DCC was doing to make it easy for students to adapt to online learning format. And I would say offering classes in different formats to try to appeal to the different interests of students, recognizing that not every student has equipment to do stuff online, so laptops and providing hotspots for some students that didn't have internet access. So if you ever have issues with your laptop or your computers, whatever the case may be, you can go to the college and borrow one, and there's no charge to that. What else? What do I look for in a good student? When answering questions, being able to connect business concepts and terminology to the question being asked of you, and doing a critical thinking. That's what I want, and supporting it, your answers. I'll get into that in a little bit due to another question. Where would I like to travel? Right now, when COVID's over, I want to go to different countries in Africa. I'm interested in going to some more places in Asia and South America. Have I ever made a product? I taught you guys products include goods and services. And since I had a own consulting firm, I had services. So in essence, yes, I created a project. Let's see, where am I from? The Philadelphia area. Someone wanted to know, how do I handle, what are my most difficult students and how do you overcome their struggles to study and pass the course? I realized my most difficult students are those, I'll keep harping on this, who do not read. And I don't always necessarily mean do not read the text, that's an issue, but don't read the instructions. They jump and skip, so they're not getting all the information, and now they're struggling. So that is probably my most difficult students. How you overcome it is, well, I force you to meet with me twice a semester. But students that I really see struggling, I'll reach out to and say, do you want to meet with me and schedule time? Because I see there's an issue going on. What else? Do I still practice law? No, no longer practice. Biggest regret from my college experience, I didn't take it serious enough. Kind of just flew through college and didn't really take the time to grasp the materials. Do you happen to know any higher up business officials? I'm assuming you're talking about CEOs and things of that sort. If you know Crave products, like if you're into healthy beef jerky, yes. I know the founder of that company. If you, this is probably mostly for the women, Core Feminine Products, I know the founder of that company, and she was actually on campus last fall. I brought her on campus to talk to students. Your biggest advice to be successful in this course, I'm going to say it again, you guys got to read. You got to pay attention to the directions that are being given. You have to read through stuff and really listen to what's being given to you. So you need that to be successful. As far as answering, doing your assignments, being able to really grasp the business concepts and terminology and use that in your assignments or to answer on the exam. And I always will tell students, support your answer. I don't mean I need that in an official MLA or APA. I just mean like if you state something, where did you get that information to support your conclusion? And just give me the page number. If it's from my lecture, then just tell me what dated lecture it was. I will know. So that's what I look for and for what you need to be successful. I'm just trying to think. I had notes on just making sure students read the syllabus. Students read the announcements. That's key as well. I've posted announcements, so make sure you're reading that. I don't know what else. Oh, thinking of announcements. You will notice on your homework for chapter 4, 414 and 416, those questions are the same. I know, just answer one of them. It's a typo in a textbook. I'm aware of it. I just forgot to adjust it when I gave the assignment out. So remember that. Oh, also take notes. So if you take notes, then when you go back, you can refer to it later and you'll know, information that you can use at a later time. What is my greatest accomplishment? I normally say family, but I feel like the person's thinking about business. So as a lawyer, I worked on the Comcast building in downtown, like Center City, Philadelphia. I negotiated the contracts and all of that. Not alone, there was a team of attorneys, but I go by there and I'm like, I worked on that. And for business, I started my own business, teaching, just hearing the success of students that have left and what they're doing. Is an accomplishment because you want to put students on the right path. What's your favorite movie? Breakfast Club and Purple Rain are my favorite movies. What else? How did you deal with business in your law career? Like I said before, it's a profession. Every profession has business components. So marketing, accounting, client relations, all of that. What made you decide to start your own consulting firm? I hung out in yoga studios. I love doing yoga. Once yoga teachers and studio owners realized I was an attorney, they would always ask me questions. And then I realized that was a niche market. So when I actually started my consulting firm, advising wellness businesses, for the yoga side of it, I was the third person in the country that was actively doing it. Pretty cool to be able to see. Yeah, that's why I love real estate. It's right there in front of you. What else? What is my favorite class to teach? I teach all the classes I enjoy teaching. I'm lucky I've already pulled out the classes that I teach. You'll never find me teaching accounting. I hate numbers. Where did I go to high school? Westchester East. So if you're local, I went to Westchester East. Was it hard to achieve your goals? I think with any goals, you have hard times, you have easy times. It goes up and down. And it's just kind of sticking with it and remembering why you're doing it. Let's see. Have you ever been out of the country? Yes, mostly to Western Europe, a few places Eastern. I've been to Hong Kong. I've been to parts of South America, the Caribbean. So I've done some traveling. Favorite sports team? I'm an Eagles fan. So yes, I'm sad about yesterday, but a huge Eagles fan. Did you play any sports in high school? Yes. I played field hockey, ran track outside of high school, softball, and then I also was a trained dancer. Well, not anymore. I don't dance anymore. But from 3 to 20, I dance, ballet, modern, all of that. What have I learned about the business world from my experience? It is constantly changing and you have to be able to adapt. What worked a year ago doesn't mean it will work now. If you become complacent, your competitors can knock you out of the competition. You can become easily obsolete. Some of you mentioned about getting your MBA. So I just wanted to let you know that after you get your associate's degree and you go on and get your 4-year degree, after you're done getting your 4-year, your bachelor's, then you can go to get your MBA. It's a graduate school. So you need your bachelor's in order to get your MBA. Some people ask about internship opportunities. Internship opportunities, I say contact the Student Employment Services Office, and they have a host of companies, employers they work with that you can for internships. And then the last one, someone wanted to know, what degree do you need to become a professor? You need at least a master's degree. For most four-year institutions, you will need a PhD to teach at. So that's it. Those are all the questions. Actually, that was 63 questions I just ran through. So did anyone have any follow-up, or did I really cover everything everyone needed to know? All right, I don't see anyone typing. Hopefully everyone didn't just go to sleep. So yeah, let's see. I'm just quickly checking to see if I've gotten everyone so far. Yeah, I think I have. Yep, I got everyone. Okay. So I'm going to move on to current events. I see people typing. So if it's coming to me, because sometimes I see people typing and I realize you guys are typing among yourselves. I just want to know, how does it feel to be that successful? That's a loaded question. No, I don't think loaded question is that. I think everyone have successes in their life, and so everyone always, we're human, we compare it to someone else. So there's people I look at that are like, wow, like that's really successful. Like the founder of Core Feminine Products, like she's a friend of mine, she's the founder. And I look at it, she's been in Forbes. She's been in Forbes top 35, like, you know, but top 35, under 35, whatever that list is. You know, she's in major periodicals, stuff like that. So to me, I'm like, oh, wow, she's really successful. And then I have friends that are like judges and prosecutors and things of that sort. So I guess it's all comparative. I try to, you know, say I'm happy with the successes I've had. So it feels good, but I always feel like I can be striving to do more. What motivated me when I was in school? As I was saying, I studied stuff that I was passionate about. So I studied psychology in college, double major psychology and political science. The topics themselves interested me. I wasn't thinking about what career I was going to do. I mean, I came in college pre-med, and then I took organic chemistry, and I was like, yeah, this isn't for me. And then I thought I was going to be a psychologist, and then, you know, I moved away from that. But I was, at the heart of it, I was studying topics that really interested me. I wasn't thinking about the job. So in that instance, I really enjoyed what I was studying. And so that fueled me. If you enjoy what you're learning and studying, it's easy to get through school. I mean, it can still be hard, but it's easier if you're actually enjoying it. So I always tell people, study what you enjoy, what you're passionate about. The rest will follow. So any other questions? All right. Cool. All right, so current events. I wanted to go over the wildfires. And I wanted to look at it from a business standpoint. So I've heard constantly on the news them talking about individuals being displaced, but not so much hearing about what's happening with businesses. So I wanted you to put on your thinking caps and think about, how are businesses being impacted by these wildfires? And think about it, it's the West Coast. You have Washington State, Oregon, and California being impacted by this. So what businesses, from a business standpoint, putting on your business-minded hats, what can you think of when it comes to business of how they could be impacted by this? And I'm leaving it broad. So I just want stuff that comes from you, what flows out of you. Like, what do you think of?
I mean, they're gonna have to close down because, like, when it's like the smoke and all that, I can't really see, like, how are they gonna bring in people if they're not feeling safe coming out of their own homes during like all that.
Yeah, so that's right, Omar. Like, there's businesses that are shut down because you can't be operating with it. There's businesses that are probably have been lost because they've actually probably burned down. So they're struggling in that respect. Small local businesses are losing most, if not all, customers. Right, because their customers can't get to them. Or worse, their employees are impacted because they're local. And so, you know, the employees are impacted where they maybe lost their homes, they're displaced. So businesses are struggling through this as well. So you got 3 states of businesses that are having difficulty. And then if you also think about it, Tony, I saw your mic go up. Did you want to say something?
No, I was going to add to, even if any like physical locations are damaged and they have to file insurance claims, it doesn't necessarily mean once the wildfires are done, they're going to be able to reopen. We're going to have to wait for the process.
That's excellent. Excellent. I raised that in the last class, the insurance claims on the individual and business level. So like those businesses might be shut down because, you know, they have damage. They might also, something to keep in mind, I don't really cover this in Business 100, but because Tony brought it up, I also wanted to raise the fact that businesses often have business interruption insurance. So what happens is when their business is shut down for something like this, they have insurance that kind of helps keep them paying payroll, rent, things of that sort. So that's going to be impacted. Some of them might be tapping into that business interruption insurance. I'm just looking down here. Some businesses are burning down in the fires. Yeah, Michael, there's a lot of loss going on right now. In addition, it's also, if businesses can't function, then you might not be able to get certain supplies out or certain products or services conducted because the businesses themselves are down. I was thinking about forestry, where people go out, you know, because of the trees and the acres, that might be impacted. So I don't know if down the road we're going to see an impact within cost of wood, impact in, you know, field, like food that is produced out there that's been damaged as well. So there's a lot of trickle down effect. Bringing up insurance, kind of quickly going back to insurance, thinking about also insurance companies are now doing payouts. Insurance companies never, they want to collect our premiums. They don't want to do payouts. So you now have insurance companies that are going to be impacted because there's a lot of loss and damage that they're going to be paying out as well. I think businesses who provide health insurance are going to be looking at maybe their employees who have been impacted and now are going to the doctor because they have had smoke inhalation or things of that sort. But there's also a flip side to this too. So we talked about the negativity and what's happening to businesses, but there's also businesses, I mean, it sounds horrible, that can capitalize on this as well. So what if you own, you know, a fleet of planes? And so your planes are being used to drop whatever chemicals they put to kind of put out the fire. I don't know if there's any businesses. I know that military's out there, fire departments are out there, but there might be private businesses that are skilled in this as well that are also getting work, and they're out there trying to fight the fires. For gas, yeah, planes, oil company, like the oil industry might be having some little boost because of the planes that are flying, or the industry, you know, that makes the chemicals that get sprayed. They might be working overtime because they've got to get more of the chemicals out there so they can fight these fires. Yeah, like, so there's so much. So there's the negativity aspect, but always when there's negativity, there's businesses that are going to benefit from this as well. I'm thinking of the stress on the healthcare system. There's already a stress due to COVID, but now in these 3 states, there might be additional stress from people having health issues because of the smoke they're inhaling. So there's a lot. Like when you read these headlines, I really want you to like hear it and go, wait, what's the business aspect? Because there's always a business twist to it. Even if they don't discuss it in the news, there's always a business twist. So unless anyone had anything else, I was going to move on. All right. All right. Oh, there it goes. Taking a second to pop up. So one of the things I think of, and tying back in what we were just talking about, environmental. So I've heard talks popping back up talking about climate change, environmental protections that need to be out there. So this kind of leads me into the government's role in a free market system. Their regulation, whether they choose to regulate or deregulate. So regulation is relying on laws and policies, then on market forces to govern economic activity. Deregulation is the opposite. It's removing regulations and relying on the market to correct itself over time naturally. So one of the things when I thought of the wildfires, I'm like, oh, environmental protection agencies, because states have their own environmental protection agencies, and then there's the federal environmental protection agency. So what adjustments or regulations are going to be put in place in response to the wildfires? Because this is like record history taking place in this year's wildfires. So governments intervene through their regulation, and tying in the politics of it, the two major parties in this country oftentimes disagree on regulation. One party wants deregulation, and another party wants more regulation, and both have their pros and cons. When you deregulate, consumers get less protection. When you regulate, consumers get more protection. But on the flip side of that, more regulation puts more cost on businesses that eat into their profits. Deregulation, loosens up the purse strings, and so the idea, if they have more money in their pocket, then they can reinvest in their businesses and grow it, or they can pay their employees more money. So each side has a pro and con. In this debate, when you're looking at regulation, is the idea of protecting stakeholders. So governments often intervene into the free market system because they're looking to protect stakeholders. And remember, stakeholders are employees, investors, customers, suppliers, society at large. And oftentimes companies have to do that juggling act, because on one side you have owners and employees who want to make a lot of money, and so they want to charge a lot so they can make a lot of money. But on the flip side, you have customers who want to get it paid for their products as little as possible. And so the company's trying to do this balancing act with their stakeholders. Oops. I don't know why the delay with it coming up. So some of the other things for why businesses intervene in the free market is also to foster competition, especially in this country where we consider ourselves capitalists, and so competition is a good thing. In fostering competition, the government will intervene in the market to preserve the competition and ensure that no single enterprise becomes too powerful. And the ways that they do that is like antitrust prohibition. They look into approving mergers and acquisitions to make sure companies are not getting too large. The most recent I can think of for this year is Sprint and T-Mobile with their merger. I mean, that took place over years where people were fighting that merger because you were merging the the top 3 and 4 cell phone carriers. So once they merge, you only have 3. So people were worried that that would impact competition in that industry. They pulled through, they merged, but they had to get the government's approval. It just came out today where we have an acquisition. Now, granted, it's a foreign company. Aren't T-Mobile and Metro merged? Metro, I believe, is a subsidiary of T-Mobile. So I think all the carriers have their own, I guess, prepaid carrier. So what they're doing is targeting different markets. So those who want prepaid cell phones, they have their own market or more plans or whatever the case may be. So they have kind of their lower end market, and then they have their higher end. Thinking along those lines is the grocery store, like Trader Joe's and Aldi is the same company. Trader Joe's is kind of that higher end, and then Aldi is the lower end. You can look at it as cars. You have Toyota and Lexus. So a lot of companies kind of compete in multiple markets, and they have different brands that they use to do that. I was just thinking. So encouraging, also another way they encourage competition and foster it is by encouraging innovation and economic development. So they'll give tax cuts or benefits to companies to be innovative and provide economic development in certain areas of the country. So that's also a way of fostering competition. So I'm not going to go through the whole list. This is in your textbook. But I wanted to just highlight, there are major government agencies out there that are part of this regulation, and they each have their own areas of expertise. So just glancing at it, we talked about the Environmental Protection Agency. So that's one of them. You have Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which focuses on making sure employers don't discriminate against their employees. You have Food and Drug Administration that makes sure the food and the drugs that we're digesting are safe. You have Occupational Safety and Health Administration, so making sure when workers are on the job, they are working in safe environments. So all of this comes under regulation, and all impacts how businesses do their jobs. Some regulations will be more impactful on one industry over another, but there's no business out there operating that is not subject to some type of regulation or law that they have to comply with.
User entered your channel.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about demand and supply, because competition is impacted by demand and supply. So the demand is the amount of goods or services that customers are willing to purchase at a given time at various prices. So what's the demand? And I have the example here of like the Popeyes chicken. When it came out, the demand was greater for what Popeyes had, like the supply they had. So supply is the quantities of goods and services that producers provide on a particular date or at particular prices. So if there is no demand for your product, it doesn't matter how much you have in supplies. The consumers aren't going to come. So you have to create the demand for your product. On the flip side of that, if you don't have the supply, so there's this huge demand for your product, but you don't have enough supplies, then you're going to hope you're not in a competitive market. Because if you're in a competitive market, consumers will go to your competitor. If you're the only one, then they're going to wait. Unless you create some kind of desire for your product, like a luxury item. What comes to mind is Supreme. Where Supreme, their whole business strategy is have a limited supply and have a huge demand for their products. That's their whole business strategy. So they only put out a little bit, and so people are craving their products and they can charge a lot more money for it. Versus, I'm trying to think, a big pen that you can go multiple places and get. And if you don't have the big pen, you can get a substitute pen for that. So demand and supply are very much part of business, and no matter what profession you're in, you have to be aware of what's the demand out there for your product and services and whether you can supply it. So I just have, this is in your textbook too. What breaks down with supply and demand is that companies try to find the sweet spot. How cheaply can we provide a product at a cost where we can make profit and the consumer will still buy it? And consumers are trying to figure out how cheaply they can buy a quality product. So where this meets the equilibrium price of that supply and demand is that sweet spot where the consumer is happy, the producer is happy. So it's like that sweet spot. So that's always a balance. Companies are always searching for how cheaply can we make the product? And when I say cheaply, I don't mean quality, but how much can we save on making the product? And then how much can we charge? Like how much can we get for it so we can make as much profit as possible? So if you're in like marketing and finance, you're probably juggling, trying to figure that out. So always tying in stuff that comes from society and ways to make you remember stuff. I know you're probably thinking, sharecropping? Why is she bringing that up in this class? But I read this in the book I have at the bottom, The Color of Money, where they were talking about the supply and demand for cotton after slavery ended. And at that time, the United States was the world's top exporter of cotton. So there was a high demand for cotton that the United States had to meet. So with slavery over and not having the free labor to, produce the supply, sharecropping picked up. popped up. And if you don't know what sharecropping was a system where formerly enslaved people were giving like a credit, like here's your house, here's food to live on, but because I gave this to you, you have a credit and you have to work it off. If you can work it off and then still make profit, like money over that, then you'll do good. So this cycle of debt actually created a larger system of supply than there was in slavery. So the idea of, oh, if I work really hard, I will be able to make enough money and then I can become more self-sufficient. And in doing that, you had to create more of a supply. So actually, after slavery ended through sharecropping, the United States actually produced more of a supply in cotton to meet the demand of the world, their need for cotton. So just wanted to kind of bring in different things and different approaches and seeing how business worked, and seeing how those who were running these sharecropping cycles saw how they could manipulate those who were formerly enslaved to meet the supply to demand for cotton out there, and that they could make their money. So like I said, always trying to pick different ways to approach subjects versus the just boring way. So hopefully that will stick. It's something unique that will stick in your head. So when we're looking at supply and demand, I already brought up the idea about competition. So there's categories of competition. You have pure competition, monopolistic competition, oligopoly competition, pure monopoly, and then regulated monopoly. Pure competition, the buyer has extensive choices of where they can go. It's multiple competitors. Even in a monopolistic competition, the buyers still have extensive choices. It starts to narrow down, not narrow down, but the companies are able to kind of have this, we can set the price, whereas in a pure competition, they don't really have control over the price. The consumers are. So when I think of monopolistic competition, I think of this cell phone. So where Samsung and Apple can charge a ridiculous rate, but they still have competitors. LG is still out there. They're cheaper and they're still a replacement for iPhone and Samsung. But because of the work that Samsung and Apple have done, they have kind of risen above the pack. Then you have oligopoly, which among the competition, you have very few, like 2 or 3 firms. So the buyer's choices become limited, and then the companies actually have more control over the pricing. In a pure monopoly, the buyer has no choice. There's only one that they can go to, and then the company can, or the producer or whatever, can charge whatever they want. There's no competition. And then in a regulated monopoly, the buyer still doesn't have any choice. The only difference is it's government regulated. And so the government is setting those prices. And so that's so limited. In the United States, there is an example of all of this across the industries. So when people say what type of competition exists in the United States, I think you have to look at each industry, because each industry is different. And then so you might have, in one instance, pure competition. In another instance, you might have regulated monopoly. So we kind of cover the gamut within the United States. So something else I wanted to cover that's probably you are fully aware of is the different business cycles in the United States, or throughout the world. I shouldn't just say the United States. So some of the terms to be aware of is recession. We are in one right now. A recession is defined by at least 6 months of decline in the GDP. And if you remember last class, we talked about the GDP. Along with the recession, you normally have unemployment that drops. So the unemployment rate, just remember, is the portion of the labor force that's searching for jobs. And it's those 16 and older. It does not include those who have given up searching for a job or just not in the job market at all. Okay. Inflation is the economic condition in which prices rise steadily throughout the economy, and it's over time. So you can go back decades ago and you could have purchased a car for $150, brand new, spanking new car. You're not going to find that now. Inflation has taken hold, and cars are a lot more expensive than paying $150. Homes, there's times when homes cost $20,000, $30,000, and now if you go to those same neighborhoods from decades ago when they were $25,000, these homes could easily be $500,000. Inflation is what caused that, and it's over time. Gas, yes. I mean, in the 70s, gas was like under $1, and now I think it's been holding at around here like $3.49 a gallon, or is it $2.49? I don't remember. But they've been holding out. So gas fluctuates, but over time it increases. So Camille, that's a really good one. So I just had a chart in here. This is also in your textbook, but just showing the fluctuations in the U.S. economy. It goes up and down. So I just wanted to show that. It also in here shows the highlight of like Great Depression. So anything below the bar, we were in a depression or recession. Here is from the oil. In the 70s, there was a recession caused by the surge in oil prices. And then the most recent was 2008, triggered by the housing market crash. Yeah, in some states it is cheap, but even in those states over time, it's increased. So if it's really cheap in those states, we can only imagine what it was years ago. But yeah, in some states it is a little bit cheaper. And I have noticed that states that have oil refineries in them tend to be a little bit cheaper in their gas prices. All right, so two other things I wanted to go over with you before we end class today. We'll start talking about money and money's role in business. So I wanted you to start thinking about money as anything generally accepted as a means of paying for goods and services. Example, if I decide and society agrees with me that this is very valuable, $100 worth, then I can start using this to pay for things. That is all money is. It's what we've agreed as a society of what has value. So there were times when people carried around gold and silver, and that's what you needed for your money. Now we have dollar bills that represent value. The money supply is the amount of money in circulation at any given time. The government can put money into circulation. The government can also pull money out of circulation as a way to kind of regulate inflation and things of that sort. And so I wanted to end on this and something for you to think about as business-minded people. When you're in business and you're talking about money, you want to think about who is actually spending it and who you need to target. So here's some numbers. Women drive 83% of the U.S. consumption through both buying power and influence. The African American community spends $1.2 trillion annually in the U.S. And this year, the Latinx consumers' buying power is expected to reach $1.7 trillion. If you are in business, you are thinking of ways to how to target this audiences so you can make money and figuring out how this plays into your business strategy. All right. So I'm going to leave you on that because we're going to pick back up talking about money and how money is spent in the United States and how that ties into business. Did anyone have any questions before I let you go for today? Everyone's good? All right. So on Wednesday, we'll pick back up here. We'll finish up chapter 2, and then we'll be jumping instantly into chapter 3. All right. Well, if no one has any questions, have a good day, and I'll see you on Wednesday. Making sure I got everyone. Yeah, no one else popped up. All right. Sounds good.
was kicked to your channel. User disconnected from your channel. User disconnected from your channel. User was kicked to your channel.
What a fucking pussy.
User was kicked to your channel. User disconnected from your channel.
Is this kid fucking serious? Oh my god.
User entered your channel. User left your channel.
Alright, let go. Oh my god, bro, this kid's literally dog. Get the fuck out of here.
User was kicked to your channel. User disconnected from your channel.
You's a bad bitch, G.
Thank you.
Throw it back for a real one. What the fuck was that?
I can't throw it back. See that gas tank coming? I've been waiting for.
User entered your channel.
If you don't want
User entered your channel. User left your channel. User left your channel. User entered your channel. User was kicked to your channel. Left user disconnected from your channel.
You are currently the only person in this conference.
Call yourself a real estate investor and you're not going to take advantage of what's going on right now in the market, then you're an idiot. Hello everyone, this is your news report and second stimulus update as of Friday, September 11.
User entered your channel.
The GOP proposed their stimulus package called the Safe to Work
User
Act,
left your channel.
but sadly it did not get past the Senate with all Democrats voting against it. With that said, the Democratic-led House of Representatives is returning to work this upcoming Monday, and they have already been planning on proposing a second stimulus package to Republicans. So when will you get your second stimulus check? To find out, stay until the end of the video. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, give this video a like, and click the bell. Let's get this video to 5,000 likes, so Congress can start sending out stimulus checks. The Republicans' new stimulus bill has been denied by the Democrats, and therefore has no chance of going into effect. Why is that? Well, it is because both sides of the aisle cannot agree on anything. Speaker Pelosi told CNN that she will only agree to a second stimulus package if the GOP increases their offer to $2.2 trillion. But this is unlikely.
User entered your channel. User left your channel. User entered your channel. User left your channel. User was entered your channel. User disconnected from your channel. User left your channel. User entered your channel. User left your channel. User disconnected from your channel. User was kicked to your channel.
Yes, he has, Peter.
User left your channel. User entered your channel. User entered your channel. User disconnected from your channel. User disconnected from your channel. User entered your channel. User left your channel. User entered your channel. User left your channel. Disconnected from your channel. User entered your channel. User left your channel. User entered your channel. User left your channel.